Hello and welcome to today's tool presentation about what is new in Snagit 2021. It's really nice to have you here today, though I'm sure we all wish that we could have seen each other in person in Stuttgart this year, but hey, that's how it is. My name is Anton Bollen and I'm the Customer and Market Strategist for TechSmith here in Europe. I'm going to lead this session for you and show you everything that Snagit 2021 has to offer. We will start with a basic introduction and overview to the tool, in case you haven't seen Snagit in a while or maybe even haven't tried it at all. And after that, we will dive deeper into all the new features and functionality that Snagit 2021 has to offer, and we'll finish with a few direct examples and use cases on how to best use Snagit for technical communication. This tool presentation is a pre-recorded session, which has one fantastic advantage. I can be here on screen showing you Snagit, but I can also be in the chat answering to any additional questions and inquiries live. So if there's anything you would like to know, please use the chat feature to let me know, and I will get back to you right then and right there, as well as at the end of the session. Well, and with that said, I think there's only one thing left to do, and that is to show you the new Snagit 2021. Let's go. So let me give you a very brief overview of what Snagit is and how you can use it. Well, Snagit is a primary tool for taking, editing and sharing screen captures of any kind. And we've been a leader in the space for more than 30 years at this point. And the process itself is quite simple and intuitive. This right here is the Snagit capture window, and it gives me a couple of different capture settings that I can predefine. I have a very simple to use all-in-one profile right here, the setting. It's very flexible. I will show that in just a minute. But if I do know that I want to take a particular image, I can directly access that, as well as video. And with each of these, I have direct access of presetting a bunch of settings as to whether or not I want to capture a full region or a screen or a window, right? I can also predefine certain effects if I want to have the images scaled right away after capture. And I can predefine the output destination, so I can directly save them to a particular location on my hard drive, integrate them directly into a Word document that I'm working on, and more and more and more. So Snagit, even though it has just a generic flexible all-in-one capture mode built in, it also does give you the option of predefining certain capture and editing workflows in such a way that it will help you work more consistently and faster. Yeah, but let's go back to just taking a simple screenshot to see what this process might look like with Snagit. So I'm going to go back into this flexible all-in-one profile. And next I'm going to open the content, the documentation, the website that I might need to take a capture. I bring back up my Snagit, I have all-in-one selected, and now all there's left to do is to hit the big red capture button. And the second I do that, Snagit will disappear and I get these yellow crosshairs. And now with these crosshairs, I can select the part of my screen or application that I want to capture. So as I'm moving it, you can hopefully see based on this like yellow highlighted line, that right now I'm capturing the active browser window, now the entire browser. I have the option to capture the entire full screen, or what I like to do most of the time is simply by clicking, holding and dragging to select a particular region like I just did. So the capture isn't quite initiated yet, but rather I see this kind of preview, which is really nice because it gives me the option of adjusting my capture area before I fully commit. And that of course makes sure that the captures I'm taking are exactly what I need them to be. So I can adjust this area if I need to include or exclude a particular area, space it out a little bit evenly. This looks pretty good. All right. And now I can choose between taking a simple screenshot, a photo, right? Or starting a screen recording if I want to create a short screencast based on whatever I'm showing within that capture region on my screen. Or the third option allows me to launch a panoramic capture, which is a way of taking scrolling capture. So if you have a website or long document, a PDF that is scrolling beyond what you can see on, visibly see on the screen, with that third option, you can use Snagit to capture all of that as one continuous image. Something that's quite handy, as I said, for various kinds of documents, websites, but sometimes even drop-down menus and so on. So if you can scroll it, we can capture it. Yeah, but for this example, I really want to keep it simple, and I'm going to go and take an image screenshot. I'm going to hit my little camera icon. Zack, Snagit will take my screenshot and it will open in the Snagit editor, which we see right here, for further editing. Yeah, and the editing of the screenshot is really the beauty and the power of Snagit. So let me show you a few things that you can do. But first, let me explain the overall interface. So the capture itself opens in the middle. Then on the top I have a menu bar with a variety of different tools like arrows, text tools, callouts, fill tool, and in this more drop-down menu there are many additional options and tools available that you can use for enhancing your screenshots for your technical communication needs. Each tool has a set of different settings which you can adjust and fine-tune and select on the right side. And then last but not least, right here is the open captures tray. And every screenshot you take automatically gets added to this particular tray, which is great for switching between various captures you've chosen, finding old captures again, but also for combining multiple images into one, because you can take and drag elements from the tray onto existing captures or even outside of the Snagit application into another application. So again, a very powerful way of just kind of staying organized and a way of how Snagit is helping you. But let's go back to this particular screenshot we created, because now we might want to do a couple basic edits. So for beginners, I might want to draw an arrow. So I'm going to select the arrow tool, and then on the right side, I can choose the style that I like. I can even adjust the color if I need to. So let's make this a little bit darker. And now click, drag, and I can draw the arrow on the screen where I want it to be. Yeah, I might also want to use the shape tool, and let's go with this orange one to highlight a particular action that the user needs to click on. And again, if I have this option selected, I can adjust the properties of the tool very simply and intuitively, always on the right side under these quick style and tool properties. There's a lot more options and effects in Snagit. One more I use on a quite regular basis is actually the step tool, because I often have numerous steps that are part of a process that I need to document, and it's really helpful to be able to number them appropriately. And so with the step tool, I can choose the color style that I want to use, and I'm just going to stick with this standard yellow right here. It looks a bit like a teardrop, I would say. And now I can click and automatically add numbers to the options that need to be done. So first they might have to go to member login. Next they need to enter their first name. They need to enter their email address. They need to add what they're interested in. And as a last step, they have to click on submit. So as you saw, Snagit is smart enough to just kind of keep the numbers going in the order. You can also change that up. It also remembers your visual style. So all these little numbers that you add are being done consistently. And again, there's no faster way than to number steps than there is with this particular tool in Snagit. Another option or feature that I use quite a bit is the blur tool. If I go up here under more, the second one from the top is called blur, and this allows me to make information within my screenshot to hide it, to hide private information. Maybe there's user information in there that I can't show, or maybe I have some like company secrets that I don't necessarily need to include. And so if that is the case, I can select the blur tool as I just did, and then in the quick styles I have a kind of like a smoothing style or pixelation style that I can choose, and I'm gonna actually just go with this very first one. I like this a lot. And now if I need to hide the name of, for example, this customer reference at the bottom, I select the tool, click, drag and drop, or click and drag, and now I have this area covered up. Yeah, and that's an easy way, or one way that Snagit helps you keep your data and your private information private and get your screenshots ready for distribution. There's a lot more things that Snagit can do, and I'm only going to have time to show one more thing before I do want to dive into new features in Snagit 2021. But the thing I really want to show you is text recognition and editing text. So what we have here is a very flat, generic, standard screenshot, right? Like you all know. And now, sometimes it's good to be able to take text out of a screenshot in order to copy it elsewhere, but typing it up is not necessarily what we want to do. And that's where text recognition comes into play. And fortunately, Snagit has the best text capture technology built in that there is, and that is the OCR technology from Abi. So we licensed the technology of the market leader in this space. And now in order to edit some text or grab some text, I can go and select my selection tool. And let's say we want to have this text up here. I make a selection, right click, and now all I have to say is grab text. Snagit will analyze this little section and it will return editable text that I can copy and paste into another application in just a second. And here we are. Here's the text. I can select it, I can copy it, paste it elsewhere. And just remember, we started with a really flat screenshot. So this is quite a nice feature for capturing information and being able to edit and use it elsewhere. Now we can take it actually a step further with this text recognition because Snagit also allows you to then edit the text. So let's assume our developers have maybe changed the name of the submit button at the bottom to something else. And we want to update our screenshot, but we don't necessarily want to recreate it entirely or start from scratch. So what I can do is after I select my area, I can actually do, instead of grab text, I will do edit text. The same thing will happen. Snagit will recognize the text and turn it into editable text. We try to keep the font and the color as close as possible. It doesn't always work. It kind of depends a little bit also on the fonts that are installed on a particular system. But in this case, I know that we were working with Roboto as the main font, and I'm going to change the size up to 10. And now the text, of course, no longer says submit, but now it says join. And so now we can adjust our screenshot or the text within a screenshot without actually having to retake and recreate that screenshot, which hopefully saves us all some time in our day-to-day. And now when you're done with your screenshot, your graphic, it's time to save it. And that is quite easy. You can go up to File, Save As, which will bring up a standard save dialog. And here you can see that Snagit supports a wide variety of file types: JPEG, PNG, GIF, or GIF, depending on where you're from. But also some other formats like cursor icons and even Adobe PDFs. So it's quite easy to save the screenshots how and where you need them. You can also take it one step further and directly send your screenshots to a predefined destination. So let me click up here on the right into the share icon, and here you can see, yes, of course you can save them, copy it straight to your clipboard so you can paste it elsewhere. But if you're already working on, for example, a Word document or a PowerPoint presentation, you can send your screenshots straight to your active presentations, or even upload it directly to SharePoint, Box, or one of the other cloud destinations that you may or may not be using. So again, Snagit is really designed to help you with the capture, the editing, but also that sharing process for that visual content that you are creating. There's a lot more you can do with Snagit that I don't have time to show now. There's a lot more cool editing effects. You can also record your entire screen as MP4 videos to create quick little screencasts. But for the remainder of this session, let's take a look at all the new features in Snagit 2021. I will start by talking about the improvements to the Simplified tool in Snagit. The Simplified tool in Snagit allows you to very easily create simplified user interface graphics. But what are those? Well, let me take a quick little detour for just 1 minute to show you what I'm talking about. Simplified user interface graphics, also known as SUI, are screenshots that are essentially a representation of the actual software interface, where any unnecessary or distracting information is reduced and replaced by basic shapes and elements in order to guide the user to look at parts of the screen or the instruction that are actually relevant for that particular process. So this is what these graphics look like. On the left we have a classic screenshot, and the instructions are quite clear. Click on File, Connect Mobile Device. However, that same screenshot on the left, it does contain a lot of additional information like the menu entries, the hotkeys and everything else that can be a bit confusing or at least distracting to the user. Now compare that screenshot to the option or the version on the right, which is the simplified version. Now the key instruction, click on File, Connect Mobile Device, is 100% still there and easy for the user to follow and see. Now, and this style of screenshot is not necessarily new. It's been around for 5, 6, 7 years now, and quite a few companies have been using it in their documentation, their onboarding content, but also in marketing and other areas. So here's an example from Adobe where they're using it to explain their color picker, and as you can see, it's quite easy to see what it's about. However, non or less relevant information like the menu items and the tools on the left side, or even some of these settings that are contained within the color picker, they have been reduced and essentially simplified. Here's an example from Asana where they're using it as part of their onboarding dialog. And here's a screenshot from our own help and our own software, right? That is going to show and symbolize the software or the service that the user is about to log into. Anyway, so with Snagit 2021, it's become even easier and faster and better, of course, to create such screenshots, and that's exactly what I'm going to show you. I will actually start by taking a normal screenshot that we can then use as the base for our simplification. So right here I'm going to scroll down, I'm going to open my Snagit, I'm still in the all-in-one capture mode, and I'm going to start my capture by clicking the big red button, or if I really wanted to, I could also use the hotkey print screen. So I get my crosshair, and now I click and drag to select the area of my screen that I want to capture as a screenshot, which will then simplify as a next step. I click image, and here we are now in Snagit editor and are ready to simplify the screenshot. The Simplify tool is found in the tool menu at the top, and if you don't see it in the top 10 options, it's definitely hiding behind the More dropdown. Open it, find Simplify, and here we are. Snagit 2021 has an automatic algorithm for simplifying your images, and we've greatly improved and reworked how that algorithm works in terms of consistency and accuracy. So let me just show you what happens next. I'm going to turn this on, and Snagit will automatically turn elements of my screen, mostly icons, text, but also a few other things, into these known shapes in order for us to have a simplified image to look at. Yeah, the colors it chooses are actually based on the dominant colors that are in the screenshot itself. That means Snagit automatically creates a color palette, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. Then we have some quick styles for drawing additional options here. And then at the very bottom, I'm just going to turn this on to the show original so you can really see how Snagit overlaid shapes onto the individual text lines and text fields, as well as some of these other options. Yeah. So as a next step, I could go back in, select the move tool over here, and if I wanted to actually expose a few elements again, so maybe I want to have this header again, I want to make sure those are visible, maybe the name of this button, maybe this item right here also needs to be visible, and right here we have a lot of kind of elements that we don't want to have simplified, so I can mass select them by simply clicking and dragging. All elements are selected, and now using the delete key on my keyboard, I can also clean that up. So it's a great way of taking a screenshot, simplifying it, and then using the draw tool on the right side, which is now more accessible than before, to clean things up and really get it right, to guide the user's attention where it really needs to be. So let's keep talking about this tool though. I mentioned earlier that yes, we auto-generate a color palette based on the dominant colors that are within the image. And this color palette can also be changed. We have a couple other ones in here. We have a darker color palette that you can choose from. We have a lighter color palette. But you can also, if I go back to the original, we can also create our own color palettes that can be set once and then also reused over and over and over again in all of our screenshots. So let's say I want, maybe I don't want this gray. I want this actually to be a little bit of a lighter color. I can adjust this, and you can see it adjusted my screenshot over here. And maybe I also want to take and have this green as least as part of my palette, even though I don't have it applied right here in my screenshot. I do want it to be available as part of my SUI colors that I'm using. So once I have configured my own custom palette for what I like it to be, I can go and I can click on this little gear and give the whole thing a name. So I'm going to call it my SUI colors. I click on save, and now this palette is available from screenshot to screenshot. So if I were to simplify another screenshot, you see it automatically detected the dominant colors, which are a range of blue. But however, if I wanted to reapply the one I was working on, the SUI colors right here, I can select them. And now I could turn on auto simplify and apply that same color palette to that screenshot. So that is new, these color palettes as part of that Simplify tool, because it allows me now to create consistent screenshots that are always simplified using that same color palette and the same colors, contrast, etc. through and through. So in summary, we've done a lot of work on the Simplify tool. We've greatly improved the algorithm for that auto simplify, so the screenshots are converted more precisely and accurately and consistently. Further, we now have the option of creating our own color palettes, so it's easy to define the desired color palette that one wants to use for their simplified user interface images, but further, the same color palette can be used from image to image consistently, and that allows you now to really create consistent simplified screenshots. And then last but not least, we also made the drawing and the move tool much more accessible within the overall Simplify tool, and that again results in a faster and easier workflow for all of our users who want to create SUI images. And that's it to Simplify. And now let's move on to the next new feature in Snagit 2021. I next want to focus on color themes in Snagit. The color themes are found on the right side, and they define the standard set of colors that is available for most tools that you select. So right now the basic theme is selected in its colors of red, purple, green and gold. And as I'm switching in between my various tools, you can see that the same color theme is picked up and represented as the default set of tools for every single tool that is selected. Snagit has allowed you to create your own color themes for a couple versions now, and I even have a couple set up right here. Here's a blue one, for example, and you can see how those colors, shine through in every single tool. However, the options for and the complexity for creating these color themes was once again greatly improved in Snagit 2021. So if I need to create a color theme now for this fake company that we've been looking at, Fidelity Holdings, I can do the following things. So first up, I'm gonna need to find the colors I want to be using. And for this, I'm doing what most corporate entities do. We have a style guide, and the style guide already defines these colors for me. And I've opened that up in Snagit, though I could easily open that up on a second monitor as well in a different file format or in a different software. Next, I need to be in any of the tools that actually allow me to choose a color theme. Then I click on this little drop down, and now I have the option to simply create a new theme. And that will open the new theme manager. I'm going to give it a name. And now I can use this area on the left side to define all the colors I want to be using. So in this case, the primary one should be that green. So the easiest way is to do the color picker. All right, let's grab that green. Then we need that almost black color. We have a medium gray. And as a last option, we are going to select white. I can choose up to 8 different colors, though I usually only recommend using up to 4. And an alternative to using the color picker as well is, rather than doing the color picker down here, I can switch between color mode, so I can also enter the RGB value or the hex code to get the same result. What's new is also that now we have a very nice preview on the right side. So as I'm creating my color theme, I can already get an idea of what will my effects look like in these predefined colors. Further, another improvement is now the ability to add a font, a standard font, because the font is of course used in your text tool as well as your callouts. And even the Fidelity Holdings company, they have a recommended font, which is Roboto. So now I can go in here, and I've selected it recently. Otherwise I would select it from the, would find it on the list, select the font, and now the Roboto font is being used for all text and other callouts that I'm using within Snagit. So another way to stay consistent and true to your style guide. Last but not least, there is this little, almost hidden option in the top right, shadow. Now this allows you to turn the drop shadow on and off for your color theme. And this is based on a lot of user feedback that we were getting, because we had, on the one hand, a lot of people who said, I really like shadow. On the other hand, we had a lot of people who said, I don't really like the shadow. And it was almost difficult or impossible to find the perfect solution. So we decided to just make it optional. And now as you are creating a color theme, you can predefine whether or not shadows are gonna be part of that standard set or not. And in this case, I'm just gonna leave this off. And now all I have to do is click create. And now I have a new color theme under my theme called Fidelity Holding. It does not have a drop shadow applied to it. It has the 4 colors I have defined, and that theme is now available in almost all the tools that are available within Snagit. So here we go, right? Now these color themes can also be shared if you're working as part of a team, and that is super quick and super simple. So I'm gonna take the few seconds to show this. You go into your theme drop-down menu over here on the right. And then when you go to select the theme you want to share with your colleagues, all you have to do is click on the little gear, and then you'll have the option to export it. This will take the theme as well as the font, in this case the Roboto font, and bundle it into a nice package. You can then pass the package on to your teammates. They can double click on it in order to install it, and they will have the same color themes as well as the fonts available, so they can work exactly to the presets that you have given them. And that summarizes the enhancements to the color themes. We have a new preview that makes it much easier to see what you're working on. You have the option to include a font if that's what you would like to do. You have the option to turn the shadow on and off. And when you share your themes with your colleagues, the font actually get included as well. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Did you know that you could take a couple of screenshots in Snagit and very quickly turn them into a complete guide using templates? This is something we introduced with the last version of Snagit and greatly improved once again with the version of Snagit 2021. So I already prepared this a little bit, and right here in my capture tray I have four screenshots that are part of a particular process I need to document. So the user have to sign up or log into a particular service. In this case, it's a dashboard. Within the dashboard, they have to click on the report link in order to bring up the report view. And from there, they can actually generate that user report, which is what my little process is about. Now, my screenshots are fine as they are, but I do want to create a bit of a guide that I can then give on to my end users or my customers so they can follow and complete that process themselves. And Snagit makes this incredibly easy. First up, I'm going to select the 4 screenshots down here in the tray by holding the Shift key on my keyboard. And as a next step, I go up to the Create menu and I choose Image from Template. This brings up the template manager for the type of guides and templates that Snagit has available. And as you can see here, there are a lot of different type of templates available that you can use to create your own guides and your own content. And let's find one that works for us in our example. We have 4 steps, but I like this layout of this and it's quite easy to add more steps. So I'm going to choose this one and I'm going to hit next. Now I can give my graphic or my guide a name and I'm going to call it generate report, or maybe how to generate a report. I could in this view add additional caption points to it or descriptions if I wanted to, but I'm going to skip that for now. And as a next step, I'm going to hit combine. And so now what Snagit did is it took my 4 images and it put it into this template that I chose. And now I can edit it further in Snagit to finalize my output. So let me actually zoom in a little bit so we get a little bit closer so we can see here that all of these elements are still editable text. Though honestly, I don't really want this subtitle at all. I'm deleting it. I can also add descriptions to each of the individual steps, such as log in with your information. And I can do this for all of the individual steps that I have currently in my document. And I can do a couple other things that are particularly new in Snagit 2021, because I now have the option to manipulate and enhance and change it as need be. So let's say I don't actually need all that space at the top, so I can shorten individual sections. Maybe I need more space right here, so I can easily space these out, right? Which just gives me more of that creative freedom that I need for my content. Further, if I click on a piece, I now have this little icon that looks like a swapping symbol, and if I click and hold it, I can actually take a particular step and flip it around with another one in order to swap them. So let me do that right here, you see, zack. And it replaced not only the images, but it also changed the captions while keeping the numbering intact. So if I realize, oh, this step came before the other one, it's as simply as going like this in order to put things back in the order they need to be. And that is a huge advantage, because in the past you almost had to scrap everything and start from scratch, or you had to do a lot of copy and paste to adjust these things. But now it's as simple as drag to swap. The actual images that are being used can also be adjusted in the way they are displayed. So any of them I can do a double click. And in this case, I might want to show the details a little bit more. So I'm simply dragging it a little bit bigger, and I'm making sure that this report option is visible. Yeah, and now this is being cropped. As soon as I click away from it, it's only showing that part of the screen or of the screenshot that I need to include in my instructions. So again, a very quick little way of turning my screenshots into something that's a bit more shareable. Now in this case, I have 4 different steps included. But what if I need more, or what if I need something else? Now this is where the new little icons right here come into play. They're new in version 2021. And if I click on any of them, I can add a new section. I can either add a header, so text, or a new step that's part of my process, or this is essentially a footer. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a new header, and I'm going to name this maybe report info. Again, maybe I don't need the subtitle, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this. adjust the spacing a little bit so it looks like I kind of want it to be. All right, and there we have it. Now this is more or less a finished guide. Some of the text is missing, but beyond that, this is ready to be shared. And now I could print it, I could save it out, I can turn that into a PDF, and I can make it available to whoever my end audience is. And it's just a quick little way of turning screenshots into quick shareable guides. And there's a lot of different guides available, and I just want to show you one more style. So I'm gonna go back into create image from template, even though I don't have anything selected right now on the bottom. And I'm gonna just choose a very different style. So maybe this particular one is one I quite like. And you can see it will create placeholders if I don't have images pre-selected. And now I could simply drag these in, double click, adjust, let's slide this one down a little bit. It looks good. Bam, done. And also here, if I click on this little plus, I get new options for adding more steps to it, new headers to it, and you can see they stay on brand with the template that you have created or have selected. And it's just as easy to delete sections again. Simply make a right click and choose remove section. And that summarizes the improvement to the templating tool. We made it a lot easier to rearrange and swap particular section and steps. It's easier to add new sections. The individual sections are a lot more flexible and can be adjusted and resized as needed. And all that gives you a lot more flexibility when it comes to creating these guides, because now you can adjust them after you started building them and you no longer have to essentially configure everything in advance. All right, what else do we have? The next feature I'm about to show you is probably my favorite improvement in Snagit 2021. And I know that a lot of our users, particularly from the tekom world, have requested exactly that functionality. So I'm really excited to show you what we have done to the tool Magnify. Magnify is a simple tool that you find usually under the More menu. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, here we go, the Magnify tool. So far, so good. On the right side, you now have a couple new styles that you didn't have before. And selecting any of them allows you, if you draw on your screen, to enhance that particular section. We now made it possible to have an offset. And all I have to do is simply dragging this area and placing it elsewhere. And now you can see we have this, this area is being magnified, and here we can see it in a lot more detail. And this selection can easily be adjusted. So if I make this smaller, this will automatically go with it and stay exactly how I want it to be. And when it's selected on the right side, I also have options of changing it. So I can change the level of magnification that's being used, as well as the line width, which, sometimes a little bit thicker is a little bit nice. There's also different types of shapes available now. So not only do you have a circle, but you have the option of doing a proper rectangle as well as a rounded rectangle. So let me actually do that. And color-wise, let's stay with the gray. And let's maybe enhance this screen down here, or this option. And again, it's being magnified, and I can click and drag it to offset it to the side. And then if I need to adjust what exactly is being shown, I can very easily do this here. So it's a quick feature, or small feature that was already getting a lot of usage as is, but this new offset, the ability to take the area and move it to the side and magnify it independently from the main image, is in my eyes a huge improvement for technical communications. And I know in the last couple of years at the tekom trade show, every year we had people come up who asked for specifically this. So I'm really hoping that you were one of them and that you also see as much value and fun in this as I do. All right, let's move on. And that also brings me to one last quick little feature in Snagit 2021, and that is the algorithm for exporting animated GIFs files. So if you have created a video either using this feature or just the old school screen recording feature, and you open that up in Snagit and you want to take part of that longer recording and turn it into an animated GIF, one of those moving images that you can then use in your help or embed into emails, well, it's quite simple to do that. So in this case, if we really want to show just a short little process, maybe the arrow pointing onto reports, I make my selection right here on the timeline with the green and the red in and out points. And once I have that section defined, I actually don't want to cut it out, but rather I have this option of turning it into an animated GIF file. And I'm going to click on this. I'm going to use just that selection that I made. Snagit will give me some basic options for how I want to do it. High motion, screen video. Let's go with high motion. And I'm going to click create, and Snagit will create an animated GIF file for that. Here it is. I can play this back. It will play back in a loop. And and you can see how the arrow is being drawn on it at the beginning of the animation over and over and over again. And the improvement in Snagit 2021 is the actual compression and quality that is behind it. The files look better than before, but are only about 20 or even less % of the original file size that we used to create. So now this little graphic is probably no more than 200 or 300 kilobyte. It could easily be embedded wherever you need it. So once again, yet another way that Snagit helps you make good looking and professional, effective content. And that concludes this tool presentation on Snagit 2021. I'm in the chat and I look forward to your comments and questions, and I will respond to them as best as I can. Or come visit us at the TechSmith booth anytime this week at the Tekom show, and we'll be happy to show you more in depth of what you can do with Snagit. On that note, I look forward to your questions, and I wish you a fantastic TCWorld Tekom conference.